Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sports View. I'm Ron Cameron. Yes, we should have that more often here on Sports View. Bob Page, well, what can I say? He was supposed to be here. Now listen to this one. Talk about a drunk. Obviously, the man's got a hangover. If not, he's loaded today. He calls at 9:45 and said, there's 15 planes ahead of his. At 9:45. Number one, we start the show at 10:30. Even if you were the first plane, how are you going to get here in time? Get your act together and get out of the bar. But that's okay. You can do that every week and we'll be fine for us. No co-host today. As you say, I'm Ron Cameron. I'll be doing the program with you could say long. A while ago, running back at the University of Michigan, one of the all-time greats at Michigan, Harlan Huckleby. Remember that Al Ackerman statement? Harlan Huckleby for the Heisman Trophy. Harlan hasn't been the same since. And so he went on to play some years with the Green Bay Packers in the NFL, and we'll talk to Harlan in just a couple of moments. And I want to say that the sponsors today are Al Dietrich Olds, and we'll be on M59 in Waterford. Not like Bob Page said, Pontiac Waterford. It's not Pontiac Waterford. It's Waterford. On M59, that's Highland Road. They got some great deal on cars, so stop by and see Uncle Al. T-Com Pagers, if you're a business executive, a very busy one like myself, you need T-Com Pager. We'll tell you how to call them in just a couple minutes. Top at Hamburgers, where you could find Bob Page every breakfast, lunch, and dinner until he got a job in New York and he could afford something different. He was at Top Hat. And Cattleman's Meat Center in the Eastern Market in Hamtramck. Pass Pro-Am Sports System, where you can see the Tigers, Red Wings, and Pistons, and that's a good deal for you. Binary Computers, John Waters and folks, and Woodward and 12 Mile for all your computer needs. Then we have the Sting, the hottest new nightclub, the old Playboy Club on James Cousins at the Lodge, which is the same thing Bob Page has been saying, but it's near 8 Mile, I can tell you that. And, of course, last but certainly not least, Sports Fans Journal, the hottest magazine going, 76 pages. If you want to subscribe, that's a new issue. It looks nice, huh? Even Isaiah's on the cover. Shows you what happens. And if you want to call this number 24 hours a day to subscribe, you can do that at 751-1818. Also, looking for more people to work in the advertising department. If you think you have what it takes, if you've got it up here, the head, the brains, and the stomach, and you really are self-motivated, which is rare, you can call this number, and 24 hours a day we'll talk about you working in the advertising department at 751-1818. As I mentioned, Harlan Huckleby's on the show, and he'll be up in just a few minutes after we talk about the so-called Jimmy Carson trade. It's not come about. What's going on? Let me tell you what I think would really happen. And by the way, I broke the story last week. Never got any credit in the papers for it, but when you saw the show with the Free Press hockey writer Keith Gave, well, he wrote it the next day. He said, I didn't hear about that. He wrote it the next day, and all of a sudden all heck started breaking loose, and I never got credit for it. But yes, I said that there would be a trade, and it's very close, and the trade was stopped, and I think the reason why is the Edmonton fans, when it hit the Edmonton papers, just got furious, because as you know, Jimmy Carson, the Grosse Pointe Woods native, was traded to Edmonton for that when the Wayne Gretzky traded. Basically, the Edmonton fans are saying this. What are we getting in return for Wayne Gretzky? 2 drunks? That's basically what they're saying. That's what I'm hearing from a few different sources. That's what they're saying. And so the trade's put on hold, but don't be surprised if it happens, because you look at it this way. If you remember, Detroit played Edmonton. Jimmy Carson scored 2 goals. Edmonton won the game. Now, if you don't make the trade before the game if you're Glenn Sather, because basically what you're doing is you're trading Jimmy Carson, who will then put on a Red Wing uniform and maybe come out and beat you in exchange for a guy back in Detroit that's who knows what he's doing, Bob Probert, and Peter Klimo, who's got a bad back all of a sudden. So you got nobody you can put in the lineup except the third player in the trade, whoever that may be, Lee Nord, whoever it would be. So you got to say, hey, I don't think I'll make the trade. But that trade still could happen in the All-Star game. It wouldn't be something if it was made before the All-Star game and Jimmy Carson skates in the All-Star game with the Red Wing uniform and he has never played a game with the Red Wings. So that trade could still happen. But basically, it's a great trade for the Red Wings. Let's hope they can finish it. As far as the other trade is concerned, the Adrian Dantley situation. I don't know what to say about that except that Mark Aguirre is a tremendous talent, one of the most talented forwards in the NBA today. He can do it, except that his elevator does not go all the way to the top. He's just a bad apple, so to speak. And some people are saying maybe cancer involved there. And I'm talking about that's the term we use when the person is no good. And he's been a very moody player. He's a very talented player, but I don't know that he could come in and fit in the situation here because it's good chemistry in Detroit right now. They say he gets along with Isaiah Thomas, but how long will that honeymoon last? Because you got 2 gigantic egos there. They'll clash, I think. I don't know if that's a good trade. I think it's a good trade talent-wise because you're gaining, 4 or 5 years in age. But as far as a good trade overall, I don't know. And besides, I don't think Dallas would trade Aguirre for Dantley. Even up, you'd have to toss in a number 1 draft pick. So But the Pistons, I understand, are trying to move Dantley, and Dantley's still a pretty good player in my mind. And I think just stay with what you got right now because you're close to a championship. Maybe not quite there, but you're close enough. What else is going on in sports? Bill White, the National League president. I think it's a good move. Bill White was an outstanding first baseman for many years in the National League with St. Louis, and then he was a broadcaster. I listened to quite a few of his games with the Yankees. Does a good job there. I've sitting with him, not talked to him that much in the press room down at Tiger Stadium. But this guy really knows the game, and I think it's a good move for Bill White. I think he's going to add something to it, and I think he's got the experience both as a player, so he knows that end, and the media end of it, so he knows how to handle the media. It's a good choice, except I'm glad you're in baseball, Bill, because as I told you the one time when I saw you in the press room, when you did the hockey games, I remember, if you remember a few years ago in the 1980 Olympics when Bill White was doing the play-by-play for these sports, and he came on one day when I was at another radio station in town, and he came on and said, well, the big hockey game, he's doing the Russians versus the U.S., and he's saying the Russians steal the ball. You knew that wasn't his sport, hockey. You'll do a good job, and it's a good move hiring, and forget the fact that he's black, whether he's black, white, or green. He's a good man. He'll do a good job as National League president. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to have on Harlan Huckleby. Remember that Huckleby for Heisman by Al Ackerman? We'll talk to him about that, his career at Michigan, and with the Green Bay Packers after this timeout.
It's a new generation of Oldsmobiles.
At Al Dietrich Olds GMC Trucks.
Choose from a great selection of Oldsmobiles,
including Cutlass Supreme and the restyled Cutlass CL.
Or hundreds of GMC trucks in stock.
Complete with an Uncle Al price that can't be beat.
For sales or service.
Let Uncle Al come through for you.
This is the new generation of
East of the Pontiac Airport.
On M59 in Waterford.
If you're a sports fan, you should subscribe to this magazine, Sports Fans Journal, and here's how. Our monthly columnists include Ernie Harwell, George Kell, Dick Vitale, Denny McClain, George Allen, Bob Feller, Jimmy Carson, George Blaha, Bill Gadsby, and a whole lot more. Sports Fans Journal is available at newsstands and bookstores. To subscribe, call our 24-hour hotline at 751-1818. Sports Fans Journal, a must for sports fans living anywhere in Michigan or the U.S. Call now, 751-1818.
I'm sorry, she's out of the office for the day and there's no way to contact her.
With a pager from TCOM, you could contact her anytime.
I know it's an emergency, but it's out of the building now. May I call you later?
With Motorola pagers from TCOM, you can deal with emergencies now.
I'm sorry, our delivery man is on call right now. We won't be able to help you till tomorrow.
Hi, my name is Fred Wetzel with TCOM Paging. If these problems seem familiar to you, then you need a TCOM pager. You'd be surprised how affordable they are. You probably wonder how you've done without one. Give us a call at 559-6826.
We're back on Sports View with Harlan Huckleby, long time. Well, I keep saying long time. He's in the NFL for 6 years. I guess today, it's standard, that is a long time. Running back for the Green Bay Packers, and before that, you remember at the University of Michigan, where you had a nice career there. And I guess, first of all, I want to talk about your situation at Michigan before you went to Green Bay and all that. Mm-hmm. When Al Ackerman came up with the Huckleby for Heisman Trophy, and it just didn't happen, or didn't even come close to happening, really, did it?
Well, my sophomore season, it did come a little bit for a sophomore player. I was voted for as a sophomore. So it's according to which way you look at it. But as far as I'm concerned, I had no idea about anything with it. I was living up at university. I lived in the dormitory. I had no TV. So all the stuff Al Ackerman did was Al Ackerman's doing. I had nothing to do with it.
When you say Ackerman's doing, but it sure got around. I mean, people stopped you and saying and told you about it. You weren't completely in the dark on that.
Yeah, that's very true. But you have to look at Bo Schembechler. We really didn't concern ourselves with anything like that, and that was the attitude I had.
The career at Michigan, yeah, you had a great career up there, and the team did well when you were there, and it's continuing to go well with Bo Schembechler. Bo's changed, I think. I would even say maybe even not necessarily during your term. That was in his heyday when you were there, as far as when he had his problems there as far as really getting keyed up and all that. He's a little different coach now than he was when you played with him, isn't he?
Well, I think he's a little bit
mellowed
out a little bit. But I think the biggest difference with their teams now is that they have more of a diverse offense. They can throw the ball, and that's what we couldn't do. We had a basically running team. We get 400, 500 yards on a team that we just overpowered. But when we met a good team that had the kind of talent we had, we would get behind. We'd get behind, and we couldn't catch up. That was our problem.
You had some memorial games, of course, against Ohio State, and that basically was their philosophy, too, under Woody Hayes.
Yeah, that was the Big Ten philosophy, really, at that time.
And do you think it was a good philosophy at that time?
Not really, because we go out to the coast and we play a team that had the type of talent, or maybe even a little more than we had. We get behind, there's nothing we could do. We couldn't come back.
And the quarterback when you were at Michigan was
Rick Leach.
Rick Leach, who came out of high school. When Rick Leach came out of Flint, he was considered to have a tremendous arm.
That may have been true.
And he did have a strong arm, but it was not a very accurate arm.
Well, when you don't pass much, most of our practice was spent on working on the option. We ran option at that time. So we really didn't have many passing plays. When we did, it would be long passing plays to Jim Smith, and that was it. We didn't have any intermediate passes. We had no screens to the backs. We had nothing that a regular offense has as far as a passing game.
All right, my next question to you was Rick Leach the man to throw the ball in that situation, would you say?
Yes, he could have been, but we will never know because we didn't have many passing plays. We rarely passed. What I'm saying, if he practiced it all the time, he would have been a better passer than people thought he was.
Okay, looking at the point of view on the option and what that does to a quarterback, it's awfully tough on a quarterback, and there are some that say that when you run the option for 2 or 3 years, you'll never be a passer after that.
Well, you know, that could be true because you're right. It does take a lot out of the quarterback. He has to wear a heavier pad on his shoulders to take the kind of hits he gets running the option. But when you can get a guy that has that combination, who can work that option and also drop back and pass, you've got a hell of an offense.
All right, now take it another step, though. Had you have known the situation, or had they had been throwing the ball more at Michigan when you came out, when you came out of high school, because you're a great high school player, would you have gone to Michigan?
Probably so, because I always wanted to go to Michigan, because that was the overriding thing when I was deciding what school to go to. Every school I'd visit, I'd compare it to Michigan, so I wanted to go there. So when the opportunity came, I jumped on it.
When you say you wanted to go there, for what reasons?
Well, just to play for the
football philosophies.
Growing up in Michigan, watching them play Ohio State, hoping that one day you can be out there doing the same thing. Just that alone was it.
And then you go to Green Bay, where we were sitting with Tony Mandrich last week, and Tony said he doesn't really want to play in Green Bay. He doesn't know about the city. If you had to give Tony some advice, what would it be?
Well, Tony's not the first guy who felt that way. Yeah, and Green Bay is a different sort of city than every other NFL city, you know, in the league. So I can understand what he's saying, and he has the leverage to make those types of statements because he's a great player, and everybody wants Tony Mandrich. It's a different city. It's nothing like Detroit or Cleveland, Buffalo, and I'm not naming great cities, but they are cities.
No, I'm going to say you're definitely not naming great cities.
They are cities that you have stuff available to you. You can go someplace and get lost if you want. You can go here, you can go there. Green Bay, I was told, well, just something that Forrest Gregg told us one time. He can drive 5 minutes up one freeway, 10 minutes up the other, and 5 minutes back the other. And he circled the whole city in Green Bay. So there's no way we can go out to a bar and him not know about it the next day. So
and besides, the fact is, because it's all you got in Green Bay. Number one, it's small. Number two, you don't have anything else to do in Green Bay.
Exactly.
Everybody knows you.
Everybody. Even I've had friends come up, and 2 black guys, and people walk up and ask, who are you? What position do you play? Just because they're black guys in Green Bay. So that tells you the size of the city.
If you could have done it over again, any changes in your career?
Would have been All-American and All-Pro. That's about everybody's dream. But other than that, I worked very hard, and I'm extremely proud of my football career. So.
And you had 6 years, and it doesn't seem like much, but that's a long time.
Yeah, people really don't think about it. Before a running back, that's above the average in the league. And like I said, I had to work very hard, and I'm very proud of it.
And since you left football, what are you doing?
I work for Bristol Myers here. I'm a sales rep in the Michigan area.
So you didn't move to Green Bay either then?
Green Bay, I tell you what most people do. They show up for 6 months. You get there, you make the team, you rent a furnished apartment, you bring your stereo and TV, and you're packing your bags the last 2 weeks of the season. And that's the way it is in Green Bay.
But what about as a football, just to play there, per se? You're a big man in a small place, more or less. A lot of people's ego want that. Is it a good place? Did you enjoy your stay in Green Bay?
Yeah, the fans are great. The people are nice. The fans were great. But it's that thing of being under the microscope constantly that's kind of bothersome. You say a big man in a small place. Nobody wants to. I mean, you're playing in the NFL. That's big enough. You don't want to be in that smaller place. I mean, I'd rather be in L.A. playing for the Rams.
Okay,
than the
now,
Packers.
Realistically, who did you want to go to when you were drafted by Green Bay then?
Well, see what happened. Now, I wasn't drafted by Green Bay. I was drafted by New Orleans Saints.
That's right. You were drafted by New Orleans. Okay.
I was drafted by New Orleans. I didn't make the team. They were the worst team in the league at the time.
Yes, and I know.
Yeah.
Because everybody wondered why didn't Harlan make it?
Well, New Orleans had some problems going at that time too. They had Chuck Muncie was there and a few guys like that. So.
Did you know when you were around Chuck Muncie his problems?
No, I really didn't. I didn't know what was going on because I'd never been exposed to anything like that. But I just know that if Chuck didn't feel like practicing, he didn't have to. Chuck basically ran the team, and guys, you know, him and his buddies.
Even though Don Coryell, the coach of the.
We had Dick Nolan at that time.
Dick Nolan at the time, and Nolan had that 1 year in New Orleans. They won 9 games, I think. They were 500, right at the 500 mark. Or something. In fact, wasn't he coach of the year? Was going to be very close to it,
and then all of a sudden, close to it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the team just fell apart around. And you look at Chuck Muncie, you know, Muncie who later went on to play in San Diego and things like that.
Great athlete.
Oh, tremendous athlete.
One of the greatest ones I've ever seen in my life.
And in case we were talking problems, of course he's now involved. I don't know if you read that just recently. I guess a few weeks ago in the paper, he's involved in drugs, I believe, or something like that. It was just in the paper just recently. We have on, if you don't recognize him, Harlan Huckleby, former great running back at the University of Michigan, and later on played in the NFL for 6 years with the Green Bay Packers. We'll come back and talk some more football after this timeout.
It's time to eat and I'm so hungry now. My stomach's turning upside down. Day or night when I want a bite, I want the best little burger in town. French fries, onion chips, creamy chocolate shakes, baby, they're so hard to refuse. For dinner or lunch, there's a lot too much, and for breakfast you just can't lose. Right all day it's Top Hat, make it quick, stop at Top Hat.
That was me, John Rouser, not too many years ago, as a defensive back with the Pittsburgh Steelers, after my playing career at the University of Michigan had ended. Now I'm proud to be co-owner of The Sting, Detroit's most dynamic nightclub. We've got continuous live DJs, continuous videos, and live entertainment every weekend. But you don't have to disco. The Sting is also a great after-work place to meet other professional people who frequent our lounge. So stop in and see us at The Sting. We're in the old Playboy Club, the lodge at Greenfield, with plenty of lighted, secured parking.
Hey, where's the meat?
It's right here at Cattleman's Meat Center where you can buy fresh, lean, top quality beef, pork, veal, poultry, even fish. Packing house style. Save up to 40%. Quality guaranteed.
Where's the meat?
Come inside our 3,500 square foot cooler for everyday low prices like this week, Packing House style standing ribs. Cut your way free. Cattleman's Meat Center, Eastern Market area, and Hamtramck. No limit. Save up to 40%.
You said it, honey.
We're back on Sports View with Harlan Huckleby, a long time, and if I keep saying, want to say long time, but he played 6 years in the NFL, before that University of Michigan. Yeah, when you were at Michigan, you did very well as a sophomore, and everybody joined Huckleby, then Huckleby for Heisman and all that stuff like that. It looked like then you'd be a #1 draft choice in the NFL, didn't it?
At that time, yes, I was getting a lot of yardage. Things were going very well.
And it didn't happen.
Well, I think that what changed in my game was that I lost a step or two. And I realized that. I remember a guy named Cleveland Crosby was a good defensive end for Purdue. Yeah. Well, anyway, I broke loose, and usually one of those runs where I get a step on a guy, I can look at the guy and just run away from him. And I was run down from behind, and I said, well, a guy might be wearing a 20 or something, 30 at the most. And I looked, and he's wearing a 70 on his shirt. And I said, man. But Cleveland was fast. But what I'm saying, I came there as a track man. That was my main thing coming out of high school.
I know you were.
I didn't run track at Michigan, so I went from like a 4.3 up to about a 4.5, around 4.6. So that really changed my game around. My size, I was only 205 pounds, 200 pounds. So that great speed is what really gave me the opportunity to get the yardage I got my sophomore year.
And you expected to play in the NFL despite that?
Yeah, it was something to look forward to, but I really didn't think much about it until my senior year.
Okay, well, but then you're drafted in the 4th round by New Orleans, and it looked like, everybody thought, well, he'll make the club because the team was so bad. What happened then?
Well, I got to New Orleans, and I wasn't used to doing the things that a backup player has to do, like be a good special teams player and things like that. See, nobody just backs somebody up and sits on the bench until their turn comes to play.
But you special teams in Green Bay?
Yes, I did. I learned a lesson from that year. I was at New Orleans. I got cut. I played in Canada. Then I just retired from football and went up and finished school up at Michigan. And Green Bay happened to call as camp had already started. And they had a couple guys hurt, and they needed somebody to come in and fill in.
And so you ended up 6 years there.
Yeah, they told me don't bring too much. Don't just bring one bag, and you'll be okay.
And your lands there 6 years, so a little bit beyond what you thought you were in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't all geared up to be in the NFL?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm talking about just everything. It seems like attitudes of players are changing over the years. In pro football, you got the drug situation. Of course,
I don't think attitudes are changing. And you talk about the drug situation, it's just something that goes along with the time. Before, you can look at society. People weren't into the drugs like you can say 15, 20 years ago. What guys were doing was a lot of drinking. And I think a lot of players were drinking a lot a long time ago, and the media just wasn't up on it like they are now. You take Mike Tyson. He's been a criminal. He was B&E. He was all types of things when he was young that nobody knew about. But now that he's a superstar, if he blows his nose, it's in the paper. So there's that difference there with the media.
What do you do? There's still a big drug problem in sports. You say it's in society, it is in society today, but there's still a big drug. These guys should be above that only because of the fact that they're role models for kids. And in my opinion, when a guy's caught drugs once, he should be gone. That's my opinion on the thing. I don't think they're there to help people. They're helping them by paying them all this money. And if these guys aren't men enough to realize that these people look up to them, and the way you stop it, one time, you're gone. Then you got the kids in high school say, well, if I want to play in the NFL or in college, if I want to play in the NFL, I better not do this stuff because I only get one chance.
That's true, but here we're looking at a guy that's trying to be confirmed. Senator Tower, he's going to be leading the country in a certain area, and they're talking about how much he drinks, but he's still up for one of the top jobs in the country.
Drinking's
so
legal.
You've got a different thing here. You're talking about sports, and they should be kicked out for just messing with drugs one time. Yeah, I don't condone it. There should be something done about it. There should be, but you've got to look at society first, and that's where these guys come from. They come from society. They grow up watching TV, the same things everybody else does.
That's okay. They're still in sports, and they got to realize if you're going to play sports, you can't do that.
Well, if you're going to do anything, we should have it that way.
Well,
if a guy is a senator, if a guy is if he flies an airplane,
I agree with that.
If he drives a bus, whatever you do, you have to do it across the board. You can't expect athletes to be above everyone else just because they're athletes.
All right, if you're caught with them, then you're fired.
If you're caught what?
In the other industry, you're caught if they're taking tests there, you're fired.
Here, like I said, they're trying to confirm a guy for a special job in the cabinet, and they're talking about how much he drinks.
Okay.
You think we should just kick that out? We should say, hey, we've seen him with a drink. We know he drinks. Get out of here. It's not done that way.
Drinking's legal.
Yeah, but it's okay if you can drive and kill somebody.
Yeah, but no, it's not okay.
Well, that's the point I'm making.
That's his own problem. If he gets in that car and he's driving, then he's a complete jerk. If he's doing that while he's drinking,
I say a guy like Lawrence Taylor, he needs help when he has his cocaine problem. But we never heard about Lawrence Taylor driving off a road and killing people, or driving into a group of kids and killing anybody. So there's a basic difference there.
I agree there's a basic difference, but still, that is illegal what he's doing.
Yeah, it's illegal. Okay, that's fine. Well, he should be punished. It's illegal. He should be punished.
When you say punished, do what? Take a vacation like they do in the NBA? Give him a 6-week vacation with pay?
All I'm saying is you're looking at it from one way. You're just saying, well, since they're athletes and they do this, we're going to have to ban them from their livelihood. Well, what about the individual, the everyday individual who does it?
But the people don't know what they're doing, and they're looking up to the athletes. Is what I'm saying.
So since they're athletes, we got to just ban
because they're role models. They're being paid a lot of money.
But they're still human beings. I don't care. You say they're a role model, but they're still human beings, and they have human problems.
Okay,
and you have to address them.
Nice conversation we're having. Okay, you're right. Why do you have to address them if say you're an owner of a team and you're paying all this kind of money to an athlete?
Why are you paying him that money? Because he can do something that a lot of people can't do.
Okay.
And LT still gets out there and outplays everybody.
Well, I don't know. He slipped in his play a little bit. I thought he slipped in his play.
You try to block him and you tell me he's slipping in play, okay? What are you talking about?
This is a great discussion.
I mean,
Bob,
really.
Let me just say, and we're going to take a break. Well, that's great. Bob Page, you can stay in New York. We're having a lot of fun without you. And we'll come back more with Harlan Huckabee after this timeout.
And 2 and 3 and...
Could you save a life if you had to?
2.
Tens of thousands of all heart attack deaths could be prevented if everybody knew Red Cross CPR.
1.
That's why the Red Cross offers classes in this life-saving procedure. Not just at their local chapters, but right where you work. Learn how to save a life. Call the American Red Cross.
It's been a long, hot summer, but now they're back. Jacques Demers, Norris Division champion Detroit Red Wings return to pads for 40 live battles. Follow the Wings through another demanding NHL season as Yzerman, Klima, Stefan, and company again look to be in the thick of the hunt in the battle for the cup. Join Dave Strader and former NHL great Mickey Redmond for all the thrills, all the spills of the NHL as the Red Wings electrify the ice on PASS, Michigan's cable network of champions.
Binary Computers is celebrating their 9th anniversary, and how they've become one of Detroit's top independent computer dealers is really simple. A great selection of brand name computer products, outstanding service, and highly knowledgeable trained consultants who make things understandable in plain English. Binary now has facsimile machines and telephone systems, so stop in for special anniversary savings at Binary Computers, Metro Detroit's business computer center, Woodward at 12 Mile, Berkeley. Remember, if you haven't got a computer, you'd better get one before your competitor does.
What do these women have in common? They were all Girl Scouts. Girl Scouting showed them that they could do or be anything. An ambassador to the United Nations or an Olympic champion. Girl Scouting inspires girls to dream big and prepares them to meet the challenges of a demanding adult world. Your daughter should be a Girl Scout. She'll be in very good company, and she'll get the right start.
We're closing it out with former Michigan great running back Harlan Huckabee later on in the NFL. Just a quick thing on the drug situation. You're commissioner, what do you do?
Now, that's a tough question. There's a lot of factors involved. You got a player like LT and you're paying him $1 million. I'm sure those owners have a lot to say about, well, how much of a suspension are we going to give these guys? I mean, you're talking about banning players for life once they're caught with drugs. We can't do that. You can't do that. You end the guy's life. Where's he going to go from there?
Oh, speaking of where they're going from you, what about you now? 6 years in the NFL, you're happy with the job you're doing now, and what's in the future for Harlan Huckabee? Do you want to get involved in football and coaching and something?
Well, that's one thing. I've always, even before I started playing, I've always been a big fan. I used to go down to Tiger Stadium. My dad used to take me down there when the Lions played. And I did some broadcasting with just a local cable station in Detroit. I did some of the high school games, and I really enjoyed that, and I wouldn't mind doing that.
Send a tape to the networks then and all that stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
That's interesting. Harlan, thanks a lot. Good luck to you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very much.
That. Okay, our sponsors on the program. If you wonder where Bob Page is, forget it. Who knows what he's doing. Al Dietrich Oldsmobile on M59 Highland Road in Waterford. Great deals out there. T-Com pagers. If you're a busy corporate executive like I am, you need one of those. Top Hat Hamburgers, where Bob Page could be found you could find him every breakfast, lunch, and dinner, except now he's in New York. He's got a bigger job. He can afford something else. Cattleman's Meat Center with locations in the Eastern Market and Hamtramck. PASS, Pro-Am Sports Systems, Binary Computers with John Waters and his folks on Woodward at 12 Mile for all your computer needs. The Sting, the hot new nightclub on the old Playboy Club on James Cousins at the Lodge by 8 Mile. And Sports Fans Journal is going strong. We'd like to have you as one of the subscribers. All you have to do is call this number. And if you're looking for work and advertising, looking for more people to get involved there, call me. Call 24 hours a day to subscribe, 751-1818. On the next program, we'll have on Greg Kelser, former Piston and former longtime Michigan State, great Michigan State player. We'll talk with Greg Kelser, who's now doing the color for the radio on the Pistons after this. And we'll talk to you then that one, the next one, and I'll be back with another edition of Sports Talk with Greg Kelser. Now we got to go. Now we go. Bye-bye, everybody.